What's up, YouTube? It is me, the Artisan MC. Excuse me. Always when I turn the mic on. As soon as I turn the mic on, now I got burps and shit. Like, share, subscribe, support the stream if you feel so inclined. And I just want to do this as my, let's say, reaction to the season finale of House of the Dragon. I thought it would be more interesting to record this and let you guys hear it live as opposed to trying to wait, edit it, and get it in. So I'll say this. I was on call this weekend and I had a busy weekend. I had a really busy Sunday. If you were on my stream, Hero's Journey yesterday, you'll see I had to leave. I got a bunch of calls and I had to leave and cut the stream short. And in cutting the stream short, it got me to the rest of my evening, which lasted until about 2 a.m. this morning before I could actually settle and get back to watch House of the Dragon, because I was really looking forward to that. And by the time I got back to the office and could sit down and watch House of the Dragon, it was probably about 1:20 in the morning. And I'm really excited to see this episode because I wanted to know how the series ended. I was enjoying the season thus far, and then I wanted to see how we culminated in this last episode. There was a lot of ground to cover for some characters, some things that needed to be revealed and put out there, and I was looking to see it done in this episode. It was not. It was not done. And what I saw was so underwhelming, I was irritated. I was. Because after waiting all that time, 7 episodes, mind you, and going through what I went through at work, thinking about coming back and being able to watch this show and get into it, what I saw was utterly disappointing. And my question from watching that show is, when did the writers from The Acolyte take over House of the Dragon? Because what I saw in this last episode, the season finale, was some Acolyte level silliness. I mean, this is where the show gets subverted. If you want to look from the future back to the past, you can see that this is where this show got completely subverted, where everything was turned on its damn head. And I don't say that because I've read the source material. I have not read that whole 700 and something pages of that book. I don't even own it. I said that yesterday on Hero's Journey. But what I'm getting from this show is based on the show itself. And what I saw in the show itself was that it was wildly inconsistent with what these characters should be, how they should be behaving, how they should respond to things, and just what they were doing overall. It's like everybody forgot who they were. All of a sudden, the show forgot who the characters were, And we have humor injected into this that takes up a majority of the scene, of the time in the episode, in the season finale. And then you have some characters just going on walkabout looking for a dragon, totally disregarding their duties that they're supposed to be there to do, which is to look after their relatives and the dragons. No, she off doing her own thing. And I really sat back watching the show like, what is this? That's not correct. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't seem like his character. And that's where I left the show. By the time it was over, I was upset that I waited that long to watch that episode. That I stayed up as late as I did to watch that episode. I was irritated. And really spent the better part of the morning once I woke up really thinking about that episode. Like, what happened? And it dawned on me what happened as I was watching, the after behind the scenes footage like I always do. And hearing the people who were talking about the episode and what they had to do with the episode and what they thought should be happening with the episode and where some of these changes from the source material were. And I'm like, yeah, that was the shit I was not liking. You shouldn't have changed anything. And sure enough, it was a bunch of women. All of a sudden. Like, where the hell did all these people come from? Now, seeing that, it made sense why the characters that you show up to House of the Dragon 2C were completely acting out of character. Irrational, emotional, and overbearing when you've known this character for a season and a half up to this point, being pretty stoic and controlled and calculating, not sent out on wild flights of fancy and just flying off the handle and doing barbarous type of things. That's not what you've known this character to be. The other one was completely supplicated. I think I'm using that word wrong. I'm tired, so it was probably the case. But completely a simp to his wife all of a sudden, which is not his character. Even with having all these weird visions he's been having for the whole season. That's not his character. That makes no sense. Now, beyond that, you have some of the lesser characters doing things that don't make any sense. Acting egregiously disrespectful to the known queen and the known prince, heir to the throne. That seems wildly dangerous for that person to do just that. So, to get into this a bit, and why I think the show was subverted, and why I believe that this episode gave us the weak men of Westeros, because that's what it was. Every male in this was weak as shit. Weak as shit all of a sudden. Getting talked to and handedly beat up by women. And every woman that had nothing to do all of a sudden has something to do and became the story. No matter how minor they were. I'm like, that's not the story. They should be out of there. I don't give a shit about what's going on with them. I also found out we got the inclusion of a fellow YouTuber, which makes all of no sense why this person was given this much screen time and this much of the show was taken up with this person being in the show. It's like, what? Is this their Lizzo moment? Whoa. Wait a minute. You mean to tell me House of the Dragon had its Lizzo moment in its season finale? You've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. As ridiculous as it was for Lizzo to show up in The Mandalorian, this YouTuber showing up in this one having these long scenes is equally as ridiculous. But it's played for comedy because you get to have a female, in some sense, dominating the male. That's not what we were doing in this show, which is why I liked it. Sure, it had strong female characters, well written. You understand their reasoning for why they were doing what they're doing, and you understood their struggle in what they were doing. But this was something else. This was completely different because those two characters in this, be it Allison and Rhaenyra, got reduced to just making faces in a season finale. Now, because it was late when I watched this, my recollection of the complete chronological events is sketchy because I'm tired. So I'm not going to go in order, but I will jump around to the things that I'm talking about. And one of which that jumps out to me is Aemon's behavior. Now, Aemon is one of the most interesting characters in this show. He has a reason for what he's doing. He has been shown to be very calm, very cool, very calculating. Would take the advantage when there is one to be seized. This episode had him like a deranged, out of control maniac. Because he couldn't fight something. Which makes no sense in the world. If you watched the last episode, episode 7, you saw that Aemon went after Silverwing on Vhagar and headed towards Dragonstone. And I guess when he got within, periscope distance or telescope distance of seeing what was waiting for him on Dragonstone, extra dragons, he decided to turn Vhagar around and go back the opposite direction. He didn't go for the fight. Now, I'm supposed to believe this person who was clever enough to devise a plan to draw out Meleys, or a dragon, at Rook's Rest, lay in the cut, and then spring his trap and attack, taking out a dragon, would all of a sudden, because he didn't get to fight or realize that, the balance of power has shifted, in one scene where he saw 3 dragons that he already knew they had. Or, excuse me, 2 dragons he already knew they had. That he was so upset about that, he went and just torched some other little village township or whatever with his dragon. Sharp Point, I think it was called. No indication why Sharp Point was there, whose side they were pulling for in this. Dance of Dragons? And what reasoning he would have to take anything out on them? No, all of a sudden he just decided he just gonna kill innocents while he's running around with the title of Protector of the Realm, Prince Regent, Protector of the Realm. He just decided to start killing people, I guess, in his realm because he didn't get his way one time. That sounds ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And it's not consistent with what you've seen of this character to this point. Now, granted, in the earlier episodes this season, you saw him get kind of embarrassed by his older brother in the brothel. And he handled it with some class and some grace. He just got up and left. Now, you knew from that moment that he was going to get revenge on his brother. You just didn't know how it was going to happen. But you saw that he is controlled. He will put together a plan. And he will execute said plan coldly, which makes him so fascinating. You never know what the hell is going on with him. You don't know what his emotional state is. You can guess at it, but you never know it because he's always very controlled. You mean to tell me the one time he didn't get into a fight, he got so pissy that his sister had another dragon. He didn't see the rest of them. He just saw one. That he went off and killed a bunch of townsfolk. It makes no sense in the world. Beyond that, he comes back to King's Landing and he's so irrational, he's just going to grab his sister, the queen, and make her get on her dragon with him. Like, huh? How does that work? The chick that talked to herself and bugs and stuff like that and is of no use to doing anything? All of a sudden, you just grabbing her by the arm, you Mr. Forceful, and go make her get on the drug? That doesn't even make any sense. It's not his personality. That's not even a relationship. Unhinged or not, it doesn't make any sense. That is not his character. Which is why when he ended up taking the throne after executing his plan to take out his brother, he is efficient and cold with how he dispatches everybody when he's time for him to sit at that table. He knows what he wants to do. He knows what he's doing. And he goes about giving them direction like that. But now all of a sudden he's just the tyrant all of a sudden. That doesn't make any sense. And it's an insult to that damn character. Now, the other one that bothered me was Lord Corlys. Now, we spent a whole season constantly going back to this boat dock to get his ship, the sea snake, out of dry dock, completely refitted, repaired, and back out in the water. Okay, all well and good. We've had a bunch of scenes with him, and I believe it's Adam, his new first mate, talking at the same spot. They must have filmed all these in the same day. But it finally gets to a point where he's trying to offer Adam some kind of help. And Adam snaps the hell out on him. which seems completely out of character for Adam. But Corliss sitting there taking it equally seems out of character. Now, in this scene, all the work that went into establishing Lord Corliss as somebody that people respect and listen to and whatnot, this scene kind of destroys that whole character. Because it basically paints this character as an unsympathetic, terrible father who left his children to live in poverty to go off and be with a white woman and fawn over her kids and parade them in his other children's face. What kind of dumbass narrative spinning is this? This is really making me want to read the book quicker now just to see this scene. Like, did this even exist? Is this made up? This has to be some made up shit. The one dark-skinned, melanated man in a position of power all of a sudden is an unsympathetic fucking father. And now that he has made his son, that he knows is his son, his first mate on his ship, and trying to give him more responsibilities to put him in some kind of a position of authority, the boy doesn't want it and wants to talk shit to him about not needing his help. Really? If that was the way you felt, why the hell did you save him? That's the whole reason why you're there, because you saved his life from the sea. Why'd you save him if you felt that way? How are you that poor if your mother was a shipwright? You were a shipwright. Your brother is a shipwright. Since Lord Corliss had a big armada, it sounds like y'all was pretty busy. So how were you poor? You really expecting me to believe that this man runs Driftmark? He employs all these people building ships and working on ships and all the rest of it. It is a seafaring society over there. And he just got a shitload of poor. While he comes down and gets the best meats. How do you have the best meats? These people revere him and respect him, but he leaves them poor? Get the fuck out of here. That doesn't even make any sense. It doesn't even make any sense. In one scene, they took a character that has gravitas and has good scenes where he's acting with his wife, Raina, who is gone now, and is dealing with his grief from that into an unsympathetic fucking simp. Oh, your new family didn't work, so now you're trying to come back to me? Fuck you, daddy. Huh? What? You can't tell me George R. R. Martin wrote that. You can't tell me he wrote that. That is some bitter black woman shit. Or some jilted divorced woman shit. You can't tell me that. That his bastard would have that much smoke for him, but he follows him and listens to him. You are my Lord, and I will do what you say. But I don't need your help. But you will take my direction. Got you. That don't make any goddamn sense to me. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Now, the other one I thought was very insulting and a waste of time was Tywin Lannister, Master of Ships, going off to the Triarchy to, you know, kind of make a deal with them at, Prince Regent Aemon's suggestion, tactics, planning. And his whole time there is played like a comedy skit where he is just being seen to be goofy, out of his element, completely uncomfortable. Don't really have the goal that they're supposed to have. He can't really do this. He doesn't really understand what's going on here. And it's ridiculous. This is somebody who sits at the Green Council table, right? You would think he would be used to talking in front of, important people, not sitting there like the court gesture guy sitting there to negotiate a deal. Now, the more ridiculous part comes in the face of introducing another character into this that has to go along with the deal that he's making with the Triarchy. And this is the captain of Edora or something like that. I'm forgetting the damn name. It don't matter. But it's a woman, right? With some really nice teeth, which is completely out of character for this show, especially for that time period and for said profession, a sea captain. But regardless of that, this character jumps up there and has the one thing to say that you won't sell with this person unless they can beat her in combat. And I'm like, what? Now, I'll give a shout out to these dudes because I saw them do their reaction to this shit, and they were having the same feeling I was. The fact that she runs all the rest of these captains under her is leading you to believe that she's got her ass kicked by everybody in her employ and she's still in charge. That doesn't make any sense. Talk about a DEI hire. How are you still in charge then if anybody that's under your command can beat you? This is not the party cruise. Is it? Is it the Carnival Cruise Armada? Where we just get to have a good time? That doesn't make any sense. In the Triarchy. Now, her view of defeating her is to have a mud wrestling match with Tywin, who they just keep messing up his name on purpose. Because she initially called him Tywin. I'm like, what the fuck? Now, the first thing I thought when I saw this character, I'm like, who is this supposed to be? Is this supposed to be Yara Greyjoy? Is that who this is supposed to be this season? A little bit of prequel action to a female sea captain? Hey, get the fuck out of here. This was dumb. This character looks ridiculous. Sounds ridiculous. But we have to keep going back to this character and Tywin on the screen together doing dumb shit. Like, who is this for? What is this in the book? Because this sticks out like a sore thumb as not something I think is in the book at all. And it was further confirmed to me that this character probably wasn't from the books because of who they got to play this character. So that's when later I found out that this character is a YouTuber. Well, bully for them. But the fact that they stuck in this show and they have a lot of time on camera that cost, why? Who the fuck are they? You mean this person is getting time on this show like one of these paid actors? This woman had more minutes on the show than Damon's goofy daughter running around the hills of the Vale looking for a damn dragon. She had more time on screen than her. And she just showed up this episode. She ain't a main cast member. Constantly smiling with them big ass horse teeth. Now, Tylen and her have a little mud fight. And Tylen finally gets, a little pissed off or finds his balls a little bit in the mud and actually knocks her down. He don't knock her out, but she gets knocked down and I guess she yields, or they just call it even or whatever. Because she doesn't keep pressing the fight. And in the wake of, the Olympic stuff, I thought that was interesting. Like, well, this is how you win, or this is how you lose. Now, this whole scene is played comical. In the mud fighting, her beating him up a little bit, him finally finding his nutsack and getting the punch on her a little bit. It's all played as a goof. The next scene with the two of them, while they're sitting at the little banquet or whatever, reception, and she making Google eyes at him about how she likes him or whatever and wants something from him, wants to have many babies with him. And she's talking about like she gonna stud him out to her other wives. I'm like, the fuck do you got wives for? Is that supposed to be the agenda thrown in there? And who says you can have any control over him to make him do shit like that? What is this, the reverse Handmaid's Tale? This shit is just off the rails at this point. I don't know what the hell this is. I'm waiting for somebody to know the lore to tell me that this is actually in the book, because I don't think it is. I can't see this being in the book. But it's embarrassing because that's basically what it is. This dude gets to get objectified the whole time. She showed up looking at him. He gets to get his ass kicked a little bit in mud for a while. Then he's going to be studded out to her other wives as a suggestion. We're going to have many kids together. I want you to have sex with my wives. But not you? What is that about? Oh, I get it. Men don't own their seed, right? Dumb shit. Now, the other one that bothered me, and this was mildly, like if I had to make a list, this would be at the bottom of the list for bothering me, was what was going on with King Aegon. Now, apparently, he's awake, he's lucid, he can move around somewhat. He's lucid enough to ask for fucking wine when the maester is taking care of him. And he is approached by why am I forgetting this dude's name? Lord Larys, the clubfoot. And Lord Larys is trying to convince King Aegon that they need to leave. They need to flee King's Landing now. Because Aemon will be back and he's lost his goddamn mind because he, went after Sharp Point, and he will try to kill him again. He will kill him. Now, I don't know if this is a spoiler or not, but from what I've heard from listening to some other people's reviews about the show who know the lore, and they give tidbits every time they talk about one episode. So this was from episodes ago. I didn't think Aegon died by his brother's hands at all. But I didn't think he actually left King's Landing either. Because I think that would cause a massive search. Even during wartime. You would be looking for the king that just so happened to be bedridden, and all of a sudden he just up and vanished from his kingly quarters. Now, what you get here is two of the most broken characters, in a sense, in the fact that now they are both, hobbled a little bit, binding together, with one trying to convince the king, mind you, to run away with him to Essos and then come back later when it all dies down, and he will be seen as somebody to bring peace after Rhaenyra and Aemon get finished going at each other. That sounds stupid. It sounds stupid because to me it reeks of somebody who doesn't understand how that kind of shit would work. To me. I'm not saying I'm totally sure about it, but roll with me this way. If your king up and disappeared while you were on the precipice of war, if said war was over and your king just magically appeared all of a sudden, I don't think you would follow him, bloodline or not. You know why? Because he's a fucking coward. He left you, his people, in your time of need. He just disappeared. And then he wants to come back after you've all suffered? No. You don't get a day pass for that shit. There's no furlough on being the king. Like, oh, I'm just not going to be the king for a while because my brother's in charge. But I'll come back when it's all over and see how you guys settled up. No. Who would follow that fuck? You are a coward and have no loyalty. You have no honor, sir. Because you didn't stand ground and fight with us. You think you're just going to roll back in and sit on the throne? Oh, hell no. Nah. It'd be another insurrection going on right at that moment. The moment you wheeled your crippled ass in there with that. No. Not to mention whoever is sitting on the throne, who has gained it at that time, will be set out to kill you. You ain't coming back looking like triumphant anything. Looking deserter. No, I don't think that's how that works. But that's some terrible writing to just throw these characters off somewhere for a while so you don't have to deal with them and write them. Not to mention it makes both of them look really weak. The king and his hand, both weak. Now, one of the most egregious ones comes down to the character that most people want to see on this show, that you come back for week after week to watch and see what he's doing. And that's the character of Daemon. Now, Daemon has been lamping around Harrenhal for the whole season. Now, I understand from the books that He wasn't in it that much at this point, which means everything that's going on here in Heron Hall, they were just making up. That's why I spent so much time having visions and getting led around the nose by some chick he refers to as a witch. But Alice is kind of interesting to know what's going on with her. Her connection to the old guys and these weirwoods and all the rest of that is kind of curious. But basically, Damon has been in a holding pattern, making an army this whole time, which, from my understanding, didn't even happen in the book. You didn't see what the hell he was doing. Now, while some of this has been interesting in the fact that seeing this character go through these, I wouldn't say they're dark nights of the soul, but he is getting some lessons taught to him in a very, Christmas Carol kind of way. It's just ghosts and weird shit just showing up to talk to him and talk crazy to him. So he's doubting his reality. That's a little bit fun to get into, but not for 8 episodes. Not for 8 episodes. That might have rocked for 4. Let's put it that way. Maybe it rocked for 4. Maybe you looked in on him every other episode and not every episode. Because then you could see when you peek back in the following episode, you would see, oh, there's progress been made because there's been some time away from him. Not every episode. Every episode was boring. Beyond that, he is finally met by the emissary that his wife, Queen Rhaenyra, sent to him to ask him his intentions. And this gentleman is a knight because he's a sir. And in front of the Godswood, they have a conversation where he tries to convince Daemon that he should take charge and that they would be better suited following a male. Now, I'm iffy on if this could be part of the real story. I'm iffy on that. It could or it couldn't. Right? I say it couldn't because this guy is on her council. He's on her council. He sits at the table with her. Yeah, he could be disgruntled that she's not taking more decisive action quicker, but I don't think he would revert to that, well, she's a woman, we need a man in charge shit. That's the whole point of the Greens and the Blacks little division right there. The Greens saying, no, a woman can't be in charge. That doesn't make any sense. And it dishonors that character because he's supposed to be noble. I can sense frustration, but trying to outright turn against her right at that moment where he shows up to see Daemon? Talk about throwing away people. Now, beyond that, Daemon does have a little bit of a vision quest in the sense that he has some more freaky visions and dreams, but this one gives him the entire view leading up to the back of Daenerys Targaryen's back and dragons showing up. You can see his death. He can see all kinds of the death and stuff like that happening. How the fuck that works? They're weird woods. Okay, fine. They're weird wood trees. Why the fuck he's having this vision and all of a sudden his, what I would consider his niece, Helena, the queen, can see him and talk to him in that vision? Like, how does that work? That's some different shit. Especially since she's wide awake. Yeah, she has some weird precognitive kind of abilities or dreams or whatever the hell else. I don't think that counts as making a person-to-person Skype call while he's looking at some future events. I don't think that's how it works. But this is further taking the agency away from this character. And he is just now being led by the spirits of the forest, I guess, who showed him a vision, and now he is a true believer to all this stuff he spent a season, damn near 2 seasons, up to this point, not believing in. He switched on a dime in this episode. He saw some visions and like, oh, I'm on it. Yep, that's exactly what's supposed to be. He doesn't even try to understand what he saw. None of that shit. That makes no sense, especially not for him. I can hear arguments saying, yeah, well, he was here at Heron Hall a while. Maybe he's been here some months. And this has been kind of wearing on him and driving him crazy. I see that character having more fight than that. This is a character that cut another man's head in half for attempting to imply that the children that the king's daughter, princess, had were bastards, even though anybody looking at them can see that they were. And he killed without an instant. No regard. You mean to tell me just because he had a few fitful dreams, he's turned his whole character a different direction? That does not make any sense. Not to me. That doesn't sound like that's that character fighting back against that and wanting to really do what he's always done, which was plot his own course. Now, when Rhaenyra shows up here with her dragon, because she was alerted by Sir Simon, or Simon Strong, they have a little bit of a conversation, but nobody in this hall does anything when the queen that they're supposed to be fighting for shows the fuck up. They just stand around looking at her like they don't know who the hell she is. They didn't see her just fly into this bitch on a whole dragon, and the dragon overlooking the proceedings like, what's going on in here? Who need to get it? But they still like, nah, she ain't nothing. Get the fuck out of here. That is terrible writing. Now, they have their little conversation in front of everybody. Not a private conversation, mind you, between, a lord and his lady, the king and her the queen and her king consort, who is just a master army. No, they don't have a private conversation. They have one right there in front of everybody. The people that didn't give a shit that she showed up and walked in the room. And Daemon gets put in a position where he kneels to her flat out because he had a vision of what's to come, and he knows his role now. And his role is just to be supplicant, keeps coming up to her will and what she wants to do. He is just there to be her slave. That doesn't make any sense for that character. That character has always tried to keep an air of not even dominance, I would say, but an understanding that he's a little bit more than her from the jump. Mind you, that is his niece. That ain't his sister. That ain't somebody he grew up with the whole time. No, he is way older than her. And seen more battle and seen more things going on. I don't think he'd be just, let me just get down here on her knees and do what I need to for you. No, that doesn't even make any sense. Because he knows what his role is now. Like, it was any different than what was already laid out there for you? king consort. I thought it was dumb. I thought it took one of the best characters in this show and turned him into a little unconfident simp. Nope, whatever you say, I'm gonna do that. I know my role. My role is just to do whatever you say. That's not Damon. Even with all the stuff that he has been through and he has been mentally going through at this time, being at Heron Hall, that does not sound like the character. It looks like the character took a complete about face in this episode. He just completely turned the opposite direction. Now, there were other characters in this that were doing things that made no sense, and some of these were just the women characters. But I titled this one "The Weak Men of Westeros," not "The Weak Women of Westeros." But for the most part, what happened with them can be summed up like this. Every one of these female characters, big or small, were all elevated to some position of having something to do and having some men that they are in charge of. Everyone. The only one who doesn't really have anything that they're in charge of right now is Rhaena, who's, like I said, running through the hills and the deals of the Vale looking for a fucking dragon, which is completely made up. From my understanding from people who know the lore, that character ain't even supposed to have that dragon. She's not supposed to be there. And they've made a change for a show and stuffed her in there every episode just to have her bug-eyed ass sitting there looking like the runaway slave. And I'm wondering why. Oh, she just needed more to do. No, she didn't. She needs to do what's in the books. That's the source material. Yeah, you can delete one character, which sounds to me like it's a fan favorite character. Sounds to me like it's a fan favorite character. I think it would have been a boon to the show to have that character show up in the show, instead of trying to peddle their adventure off onto some other character that nobody gives a shit about, and you're not developing in any kind of way. She's just a scared, bug-eyed little girl, which will be no different than the position that they put some black males in when they don't really know black folks at all, and they just get to be the bug-eyed, scared, sweaty-faced Negro. This chick totally dismisses her whole job, which is looking after her relatives and they dragons. They went off with some soldiers and she had took off in the opposite damn direction. Nobody's looked for her. Nobody cares, apparently. And nobody's thinking, hey, where's the chick that's supposed to be here to take care of these little bastards? They just went on, jumped on a ship and sailed off without her? That doesn't make any sense. That's not secure. I'm not saying you need a whole tactical team out there, but that doesn't make sense for people who are just supposed to be knights or guards. None of it. They just keep looking forward and just kept droning on and didn't think about her one time. How long she been out there? Because of one scene, her shoes is busted. I'm like, so what, was you out there years? Shit makes no sense. All to get her to a point where she comes face to face with a dragon. She ain't riding shit. She just get to come face to face with a dragon. Well, whoop-de-fucking do. She's seen a dragon before. We've seen a dragon before. I seen her finally running up on this one, ain't making it like, ooh, suspense. Let me guess what won't happen. She won't get burned by fire and die on the spot. No, I know that. because she's one of those supporting characters in this show. So ain't shit gonna happen to her. She's gonna get a dragon. It is not going to subvert any expectation whatsoever. But apparently, I need to wait 2 years to see that. No, I didn't. I needed to see that shit in this season. The other one that's more irritating is Helena, the queen, because now she is more vocal and more clearly vocal, which doesn't make sense for her character in the sense that this has always been the weird person in the room whose mind is off on some other things, doing some other stuff, and might care, might not give a damn about what's going on. Now she is having whole straight up conversations with her mom. I'm like, is this just the actress talking? It doesn't seem like she in character. Who didn't catch that? Makes no damn sense. Makes no sense at all. I don't have anything against Elena, but I know she shouldn't be just sitting up there, chit chatting and plotting like that, even with a mama. Now, the next one comes to her mama, Allison, which, as I understand, there is not much for her to do at this point, that she is supposed to be pretty much a bad person on that green side, even at this point. Now, what I peeped in the last episode when she left the castle and just wanted to go out to the woods and purify herself in the waters of Lake Minnewanka. They're trying to keep from having this character just be the bitch she's supposed to be that I've heard she is in the books. That's what it is. That's somebody trying to save this character and trying to give her some redemption in a way, which doesn't sound like the source material at all. But it does sound like somebody behind the camera in the writing room, like, I don't really think she should be bad. I'm not comfortable with her acting like this. We can change it up. I think we can change it. You can write something. We can change it. Why are you changing the source material? If it's good enough for you to read, understand it's a big deal, have HBO or whatever throw all this money behind it to have this material, why the fuck are you changing it? Nobody paid for your revisions. They did pay for what was already originally done. Your revisions ain't passed no muster. So why are you injecting all of this dumb shit in there? Just because you want to feel some characters elevated in a little sense. No, there can be evil fucking women in the world just like there can be evil or stupid men in the world. That's part of what makes the Game of Thrones universe so interesting. You can have some really smart and devious people, male or female, it don't matter. Highborn to lowborn, it doesn't matter. What does matter is the intellect and how they play the Game of Thrones. That's what matters. What I saw in this episode is that nobody knows how to write the Game of Thrones. So that's why you got in a season finale all this touchy-feely comical bullshit. Because they don't know how to do the action part. At that point, they're like Jessica Gal writing legal drama. I don't know how to do it, so we're just going to have this character acting stupid. Allison's time in this was pointless. I didn't need much more with Allison. Is she having a crisis or any of that shit? Get back with your family. Just because you got kicked off the table, so what? You got kicked off the table. That's still your family in that castle. Those are still your children. But in one of the dumbest moves that I've seen, And how this works, I don't really know. But she sneaks out of King's Landing by talking to the Grand Maester and is secreted over to Dragonstone, brought into the library so she can have a meeting with Rhaenyra. And they can talk about how Alicent wants to get away and she'll leave the boys, but she gonna take Helena and the child. She just doesn't want any parts of this. The fuck out of here. Kill her. Don't we got a dungeon? Throw her in the dungeon. Think I remember seeing one there when I was watching Game of Thrones. And the Onion Knight got thrown in the dungeon on Dragonstone. Wasn't that where Stannis Baratheon had his daughter locked up? What the? That whole scene, I know what they're thinking. They're thinking they're doing a callback to earlier in this season where Rhaenyra snuck into King's Landing and went to the Sept and was sitting there having a conversation with Alicent in King's Landing at the Sept. Yeah, I know that's what they were doing. Yeah. That moment earlier in the season was good because it gave Alicent useful information that she didn't have before, being that she heard Viserys wrong. She heard what she wanted to hear because she didn't know the song of Ice and Fire. So you heard what the hell you wanted to. You don't even know the story. So yeah, your ass is wrong. This scene with her showing up on Dragonstone in the middle of the night just to talk to Rhaenyra, like, let me leave and take my daughter with me. Fuck them boys. You can kill them if you have to. Huh? Someone else pointed this out. Are you telling her she has to go ahead to kill her brothers? She didn't need your permission for that shit. They are in setting up open war. She didn't need your permission to say that she was going to kill them. They going to get killed one way or the other. So that little bit of, throw the men away, save the daughter is some bullshit to me. That's some feminist bullshit to me. And the way the scene goes on, where Rhaenyra says some catty stuff, but mostly nothing, to me smacks that this was a made-up scene. They made this shit up. That's why she's reduced to just making facial expressions. There's no words. Not because she doesn't have any, because there was none in the script. So it's supposed to be, I would say, cinematic, that these characters have basically switched up. That Rhaenyra is acting like Alicent was earlier, and now Alicent is acting like Rhaenyra was earlier, season 1 was. I don't like that because it is now these characters acting out of character. That's not who they are. And if you're working on this show, how do you not know that? Somebody who always wanted peace would kind of take this in stride as a good omen, not turn around. Well, it's too bad, man. You put this in motion. Your kids got to die. Your brother's got to die. Okay. She's feeding you information on how to take the kingdom, take the throne while the regent is away playing with his dragon and the armies. You can just come in and take it. I'll let you know. I'll give you the wink and a nod, and you can come and grab this shit. That doesn't make any sense to me. I was like, so where do you think you're gonna hide now? Dowager Queen Alicent, with the current queen in tow. So everybody gets to run away from the throne. The king, the queen, the dowager queen, everybody gets to run away from the throne and it's okay. That doesn't even make any sense. That's the fight you guys are supposed to be having. Now, the tactical flaw in this shit, since they're talking about they want a bloodless war or a takeover, which is silly. It sounds like the writing of people who do not understand human nature at all. It just wants to see people fighting with cotton balls or not fighting at all. Wouldn't it make more sense to let them know, hey, this is where he's going? You could set a trap for him and take him out because, that other boy of mine, he's really problematic. But the cripple one, yeah, he's done some shit, but yeah, okay. I guess you can kill him. What? This is some dumb shit. This is some really dumb shit. This episode ends with nothing really happening. And it strikes me as a flat lever. Basically, you've been buttering me up for 7 episodes that I'm about to get some of this good dragon fighting. And I didn't. This season finale didn't end on no high note. It didn't end with any hook like, hey, see you in a couple years. No, none of that. It was bland. It was lame. It was Alicent looking off at a fucking sunset. Like, I told you guys after watching Ahsoka how tired I am of seeing people staring at fucking water. Dave Filoni ruined that for me. I'm done with that shit. It is not interesting. Nobody fought anything. Everybody's just moving somewhere to some position. Like, what in the... We know. This should have been the episode to give you another battle, a fucking skirmish, a food fight, something. Something should have happened that was exciting, action-based, where the men in the situation could step up and do something. That's not what you got. You got touchy-feely DEI bumping nipple stuff. And how every dude of some position or some status had to, detach his bolas and pass them to some female. And everybody who shouldn't have any kind of role in this shit got to get elevated. This was lame. This was a lame ass season finale. This is the lamest season finale I've ever seen. It doesn't make me look forward to season 3. It doesn't make me appreciate season 2 or how awesome it was. It doesn't do that. It doesn't leave me with a feeling like, okay, maybe I'll show up. No. I'm just upset. And I was really thinking that Leslie Headland all of a sudden found their writing room and got to jump in there with him. Because it sounds like this level of shit writing. And then I watched the damn behind the scenes stuff, and that's who I see. A bunch of goddamn people who look like they were going for their own self-inserts in this shit. Like they just gave him the keys and walked out all of a sudden. And this is what they got. This was disappointing. This was disappointing as fuck. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't. If I was going to go back and watch this season, I would stop at 7. With little Oscar giving some verbal maze running to Damon to get him into position. Manipulating the River Lords, kind of manipulating Damon to killing the dude that was the downest for him. Be humble. But yeah, that's it. That's what I wanted to get out on this. I did not like this season finale. It was weak as shit. I can't believe they called that a season finale. I think this is the point where House of the Dragon just subverted all expectations and pivoted to it's going to be a damn DEI fest come season 3 with loose adherence to the source material, as loose as possible. And they're going to get to make up shit all along the way, which I don't know who wrote this last piece of shit, but I hope they ain't running the writing room next season. I really do. Because otherwise I'm going to be prepped for 8 episodes of this same dumb shit. So that's it. That's what I got for today. Like, share, subscribe. Support the stream if you feel so inclined. I've been Artisan NC, and you have just heard a Geek Speak. Peace.